just to give you an insight into the process, as you noticed from the title, the main language of the museum is Esperanto. Esperanto is an artificial language that was constructed towards the end of the 18th century by a Polish Jew, Zamenhof, and it was very much embedded in this utopian time. You had a lot of these artificial languages like Volapük, and there were other proposals. It claimed to be a universal language of peace. Esperanto literally means the one who hopes. Let's see this within the context of the times. It's very much a Eurocentric language, of course. It basically consists of Latin or Roman stems, Germanic stems, to which you add a Latin or Roman suffix, and then you add Slavonic accents. To give you an example, the Esperanto word for sheep is Schafo, so it comes from the German word Schaf. You write it S-A-F-O, and the S has a Slavonic accent on top. I thought that this would make for an interesting main language of the museum, as nobody who visits the museum, apart from a few Esperantists whom I met later on, nobody really speaks Esperanto. So I thought it would be a good unifier of not knowing when you enter the museum. And it may be, this is a bit cheap to say, but maybe it might be an interesting metaphor as well for the European Union, because everybody who goes into the exhibition kind of grasps little details, but never the whole. I used the Esperanto, and I created a kind of, let's say, fictional institution and a fictional imaginary group, whom I call the Friends of a Reunited Europe, which is kind of like, let's say, a neo-Esperantist underground Euro-federalist movement that somewhere in the future has gathered the remains or the leftovers of this huge propaganda project, and that somehow tries to retell the story of what was once the European Union. I did this, I go through the imaginary group because I somehow wanted to not present my own point of view. This is, of course, a struggle you always have as an artist as well, like how do you position yourself within the work, and how do I position myself vis-a-vis the complexity and ambiguity of the topic I'm dealing with. I often get questions by journalists or even visitors whether I'm pro-European or a Eurosceptic. And I think this question, which I do not understand at all, but this question is really at the core of the project, this ambiguity and this. And the Friends of Reunited Europe helped me to distance myself and to even write in the text stuff that I personally do not believe in at all. And there's often, you will see in the images as well, there's a very ambiguous play between what is in the text, which really starts out as Euro propaganda, basically, and what you see in images, for example, and then later on we shift around, basically, and the texts become ever the more critical, whereas the image turns upside down. I'll show you some images now. I'll skip this this image of the Esperantist reunion of 1924. Yes. So coming back to the Esperanto, however, as I said, on the one hand you have the history of the language, which very much goes together with the plot and the idea of these imaginary creators. On the other hand, I find it very important as well to create somehow this historical distance between the visitor and the exhibition, to give you the feeling that at the exhibition you're visiting, you're somewhere in Europe, somewhere in the future, and it feels European, but at the same time you are foreign to what you're watching.